What is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced? I lived with 5 guys, and I was the only one whose parents weren't millionaires. Not close at all. They never cleaned. About once a month I would deep clean the house, but 2 days later there was garbage and food on the floor. I found out they all told their parents the poor kid made all the messes when one of their moms came by to scream at me. Please finish your story. Tell me that you proved it was their fault. I almost jumped off the couch at her, but the person to my side held me back. The guy whose mom it was took her outside and said don't come over here to yell at my roommate. I was in disbelief of the whole event. First day as a librarian in a private school. I helped a 7-year-old with the printer. He offers to tip me. Girl at work told me she hated her dad. I asked why. She said he keeps asking for money since she used his credit card for a Euro trip and left him an 80 grand bill from last year. My friend is a commercial pilot and works for a large company that has a flight department consisting of several jets and turboprop airplanes. The owner's kids and a group of their friends were granted permission to take one of the jets from the central part of the US to the Bahamas. Upon arriving in the Bahamas they were meeting other friends and getting on a very large yacht for a week. They realized the yacht was equipped with fine dining food, not the type of food they liked. Junk food. They ordered the pilots to fly back through US customs and to their hometown in the Midwest. Once there they had to pick up multiple sides of BBQ ribs, burgers, hot dogs, soda, beer and piles of other junk food and fly back to the Bahamas and do so within a time frame that still allowed them to leave with the yacht on time. It costs roughly $5,000 an hour to operate the jet they were using, and it never even struck the owners as something extreme. My personal favorite was in college. Kid down the hall from me bought a brand new Fender Stratocaster and played with it for a day and got bored and sold it to me case and all for $20. I still have it and play it 15 years later. It's a great guitar. When I was in college, a friend that was heavy in the frat life told me about a freshman that got kicked out for having a servant flown to town to do the hazing chores he was supposed to do. One time a college dorm mate next door was stressing his dad hadn't yet given him money for the month and $1,000 wasn't going to last him for the week. Meanwhile I'm having to donate plasma to afford my next meal. Life just be like that. I was that poor kid who ended up getting a scholarship to a ridiculous private school. The one thing that stood out massively for me was probably how much people cared about what everyone else's parents did. Like your parents' achievements counted for yourself. My daddy just brought a new plane. Yes, a literal statement. A girl in my school was surprised by her parents in the school's parking lot with a new BMW. A freaking BMW. Everyone who is out is basically watching this go down, and she starts crying. At first we are all thinking it's because she's so happy, but then she runs back into the school. Apparently they were supposed to show up earlier, I'm assuming when there would be more students to witness the surprise. I felt bad for the dad because he looked totally embarrassed and sad about it. You know, in his head he's like, I created this monster. Had a kid that lived across the hall from me my freshman year of college from Honduras. During one of the icebreakers after freshman move-in he leaned to me to ask if I knew when the maids came to make his bed/clean. I guess his family was very well off in his home country and the entire semester was an eye-opener for him in actually taking care of himself. Kids trying to straight up bribe bouncers and even police officers. This is less surprising when you realize they were international students from rich families where bribes are common/expected. Thankfully, they'd learn really quick to not do that. I had 2 friends in college who were from UAE. They were brothers and their parents were sending them to school in the US. They were actually pretty cool and down to earth, if not a good bit weird. They knew I didn't have a ton of money and couldn't afford to do the cool stuff they did, so they covered me all the time. Crazy stuff, like renting a private plane to go to a concert, black cars with drivers, expensive dinners and exclusive clubs. On the weird side, they slaughtered a goat in the bathtub to make a traditional Arabian dinner, and they wore far too much draka. GF family is wealthy, she's working her way to it. But she was waiting to get a chance for a promotion, and the words, "I cannot believe anyone would make somebody work for almost a year to get a promotion," came out of her mouth. And I laughed. My ex was the same way. I once complained to her about a couple of long shifts in a row, and her response was, "So, just don't go into work tomorrow if you don't feel like it." I have this friend in a rich family, and they said he had to work if he wasn't going to college over the summer. Now this kid doesn't need to work. His parents pay for every ring. Never had to work, but his parents insist. He moans about it for a while and slowly cuts down his work hours and lies about working. So one day he's at work with me, and he's down to working one day for 4 or 6 hours. Be me, I have to work as much as I can, and I'm normally in overtime every other week. I ask him why he even bothers taking up a job slot if he's going to be given money anyway. He told me it was because he wanted to know what it was like to be poor. I will never look at him the same way. There was this girl with AirPods on, and one fell right in front of her feet. It didn't break, and she could have picked it up and used it, but no, she said, "Well, time to get new AirPods," and threw the other AirPod in the trash. I beep you not. The next day she had AirPods, and I asked her, "Did you get your AirPod from the trash?" I thought that she got them back from the floor and trash. She said, "Nah, I just got new ones." Before I met my girlfriend from London the first time went to McDonald's, she asked for her burger medium rare. This is kind of cute. I was trying out for a soccer club and made the team. I was one of the lower income players. A couple parents' house kids didn't make the team, offered thousands of dollars of their kids could replace us lower income players. They offered to buy all the gear and hire professional trainers. It didn't work, so they started their own team. They had badass gear and coaches. We beat them 7-0. They wanted to sue the league, saying the league cheated them. They went 1 win, 16 losers. Felt good that rich people couldn't buy talent or their way. Ex-girlfriend's friend said to me, "Can you believe there are people who have never been on a private jet?" UHH. Yeah, I'm one of them. When I was in high school, I forget what book we were reading in English class, but our teacher asked if any of us could share an experience when we truly felt afraid. He picks this one girl who launches into this story about how she and her dad were on their way to Barbados on his private jet when there was a thunderstorm, and it was so scary. It was public school, so it was pretty awkward. My ex-GF from high school did like a million things that would suit this category. I'll only list a few. She lost a $10K necklace, so she took her parents' credit card and just bought an identical one. Parents didn't even question it. She decided that she wanted a new car because her brand new Jeep Liberty wasn't good enough for a 17-year-old. So she went to the dealership with her dad and bought a $70K Lexus, which she only drove like 5 times throughout the 3 years I dated her. She would constantly criticize me for hardly being able to pay my college tuition, and that I should be more like her. When I asked what that meant, she said, "Just have your parents pay for it." Ugh. Some of the things she did absolutely enraged me, but she was super hot, and I got a lot of awesome stuff and opportunities being connected to such a wealthy family. So overall, I can't complain. Lived with a filthy rich Egyptian dude. He would get $2,000 or more a week from his parents, worked full-time as a bartender making about $25 an hour, and still ran out of money halfway through every month, and wanted everyone else to pay for his food. He'd also throw a fit if you asked him to pay you back. Had lots of great stories that made people feel bad for him. He'd talk about being homeless, being in prison, getting whipped every week for 3 months, and then You get to know him better and realize that his idea of homeless is when you run away from your parents' mansion and sleep at your friends' mansions instead. Turns out, being homeless in Dubai, where he was also imprisoned, isn't really being homeless. And why was he in prison? Oh, well, he got wasted and punched a cop. He was Muslim, legally, and was whipped for drinking. He was originally sentenced to 1 month, but it got extended to 3 months after his mom got caught trying to sneak him in tobacco. He never cleaned anything or did dishes. Went back to Egypt, told us how his aunts would cook him anything he wanted anytime he wanted, and he never had to do anything. It all started making sense. He told us one story that really drove home how rich he was. He said that his parents were planning on building a pool on the roof of their house in Egypt, but he said, "Hey mom and dad, why do we need a swimming pool? We live on a beach. Build a game room instead." So they did. Ended up owing me $200 when I had to cover random bills after he blew his money. The last week I lived with him, I asked him for the money. He immediately refused to make eye contact, got all pussy, and didn't say another word to me. He left $183 out in the kitchen, wasn't even man enough to hand it to me. I never talked to him again. Edit. Wait, one more story I forgot. His parents sent him $6,000 to buy a car. He bought a 1984 Porsche 914. It was a pretty beautiful car. A week after buying it, something was leaking in the engine, and smoke/steam would pour out. After driving for a bit, I told him to call the guys up who sold it to him, but he was too lazy to do that. He borrowed a jack, and I offered to help him find out what the problem was. "Nah, you can do it." What a prick. Right. Just wait. He ends up taking it into a mechanic, tells them I don't know what's wrong. Fix it and I'll pay for whatever. So, of course, immediately they tell him he needs a new transmission and a bunch of other stuff. They charge him $600. He picks up his car, drives it home, and by the time it gets to our house, it's smoking again. I tell him to take it back and tell them to fix it for free, and he refuses. Just lets it sit in our driveway. He moved across the country after I moved back, so I asked our other roommate and my good friend what happened to the car. He laughed and told me pretty much what I guessed happened. Dude put the car up for sale on Craigslist. 1984 914 Porsche, broken. Don't know what's wrong with it. For sailors is $1,250. 2 guys show up, hand him the money, fix it on site in less than 15 minutes and drive it home. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe. New videos every day. Check out our playlist.